Let me say welcome to our listeners and viewers. Welcome to another edition of To The Point for today, Thursday, the 15th of June. I'm your host, GT. Will be with you for the next hour. Good morning once again, especially those of you via our social media platforms, whether it's the YouTube channels, the Facebook page. Good morning, GBN's webpage. Good morning and welcome. It's Thursday, and usually on Thursday we entertain various departments within the RGPF, and haven't seen my guests arrived as yet. I'm not sure if they're running late or some other sort, so we probably give them a few minutes and see if they do show up. And so we're probably going to proceed with an open line conversation this morning. I know there's always lots on the minds of the viewers and listeners out there. There's probably something you want to chime in on this morning. And no particular subject line is of course on the table this morning, which it's open. You can speak of anything that is of concern to you. Feel free to do so. 435-2041, 435-2041. That's the number. Feel free to give me that call, and let's hear from you this morning. And if my guests do arrive, well, then we'll switch to them and, of course, entertain that part of it this morning. Let's go to the phone line and entertain our first caller. Caller, good morning and welcome. How are you?
Yeah, morning, GT.
How are you doing this morning, sir?
You only put a smile on my face. Trust me.
Yeah.
You see the smile on my face. The man is speaking to you. Anyway, this morning, the court, it has something to do innocent has something to do with about learning and curiosity.
The court of the day today, court for this morning, or the thought of the day this morning.
Huh?
Well, are you referring to the thought of the day for today, for this morning?
Yeah, the thought of the day.
Okay, go right ahead.
I probably have it wrong when I say the quote of the day. Yeah, I thought it was very instructive, because part of the problem that we have as a people that we are not curious enough to find out from the appropriate source. We don't mind taking rumors and innuendos and make it facts. Unfortunately, so the key is finding out. But, Maurice Bishop, the late Maurice Bishop, was quoted by an author from the United States by the name of Lloyd Jones as saying that reading and studying are constant habit of a conscious people. And I try to look around to see whether there's signs of consciousness in our people, because we pride ourselves, GT, as a non-reading people. So how could we be intelligent? We have difficulty in the area of math, okay? And that's because it disallows us from being logical or sequential. So we have a big task, in terms of overcoming those impediments. Similarly in language, if you don't get the language correct, and I'm not saying try and go and speak the King's English, I'm just learning how to communicate, learning how to listen. All of these things we need to really master those things. So if we really want to be a nation that people will respect, we have to do that. Now, in terms of the change in the exam situation where you have, they're not given the list. I think it's a real good thing where they're not given the thing, because... May I ask you this, caller?
Caller, one sec, caller. Why do you feel it's a good thing, in your opinion?
Well, I'm telling you, because I was explaining. It builds up people. This is one of the training ground for building up ego, because if you get a higher score, you start thinking that you are better than me, and so on. So, when that is not around, what should be done is to encourage everyone to do the best. So, and my best may not be your best, because based on my capacity, but at least we encouraging everybody be inclusive and not exclusive. When I was growing up, we used to have a section for dons, what we call dons children. Come on. And the elimination of children in the past, where they didn't pass and you're out, and you're allowed to fend on your own, or you feel inferior. No, we had to break that. That's colonial. This is part of the legacy of what the colonizers, and we have to reorganize how we learn. Everybody should be given a fair chance, and so it's not letting people have their way. People have to work. and not, today in this world, you don't know who is qualifying or because anybody could buy a certificate. Look what happened in Jamaica. When this thing happened, it tell you something is wrong. You have to change the mode because they break the school to get the examination paper. Give me a break. I mean, where are we going? Finally, in terms of the sale of citizenship, I'm glad that that's becoming a topic for people because, I mean, it's not as easy as people think it is. There are many dimensions you could look at it. My fundamental opposition from the beginning, since the government was introduced in 1990, is based on the fact that this is one of the things, the last thing you want to sell. This is the only thing that cannot be taken away from us. But it may be taken away from us when those people who are selling it becomes the majority. And that's one of the things that we have to do. Then the whole demographic, the change in the demographic, the sociology of everything. And not only that, we are saying money is superior to other stuff. People who go here, and then people introduce the issue of increasing the population and so on. Why don't we invite Haitians and Cubans to come here? No, because they don't have money. Why we don't invite more Africans to come here? No, they're not money people. We say we have to encourage the population to bring in people because they come in. They're not interested in here, they're interested in the investment. Anyway, JT, I want you to get fed up with me. Thanks a lot for
happy to have you, Ben. Happy to have you as always. Have yourself a great morning and always interesting contribution from that caller and all the best. Hey, folks, you're due for a break. Let's take it because my guests have arrived and we certainly will entertain them this morning. Let's take a break and we're coming right back. Stay with us.
More chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more. Or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more. With Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers this morning here on To The Point. And as mentioned in my intro this morning, we should have a department from the Royal Grenadier Police Force this morning. My guests have arrived. That's Corporal Troy Paul is with me this morning. And I want to say good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Good morning again to all your listeners as well. And it's good to be back another time on GBN.
Yes, you seem to be one of the regulars on the program, and as always happy to have you. It's always an interesting conversation when we do get to do a program like this in terms of informing the nation about the various departments within the Royal Grenadier Police Force. But you be specific this morning. Your role is within the traffic department.
Yes, sir.
And we get to talk this morning. Our conversation will certainly lead to signs. And it's interesting that our conversation leads to that. Every Monday, myself and, of course, Mr. McIntyre, Mr. Silver McIntyre, we talk a lot about, awareness in terms of, and signs and stuff. It seems to be one of the conversations that we've been having for the last 2 weeks in terms of the use of signs and so forth and stuff like that. And today's conversation will focus a wee bit on that from the Royal Grenadier Police Force perspective, the traffic department to be precise, that particular department. Let's kick it off this morning in terms of signs in general. And we will see. I wish we had footage that we could actually show.
Yes.
I know if Master Control could, as we move along this morning, could probably quickly gather some footage, and we could probably explain it more in detail. Because the actual picture, whatever helped the viewer and listener this morning, they probably will see these signs around the place and probably not know the proper use and meaning of these signs. You understand? Let's kick it off this morning by talking about some of the more critical signs that we know that pedestrians and even drivers alike, road users as a whole, should pay attention to?
Yes. Good morning again. Just by way of sign, and persons, we may see a lot of signs along the roadway. And we see marked on the road surface, and they're there while we drive or use the road network as pedestrians. And a lot of persons may not fully understand what these signs mean or what they're placed in a particular area for. And this morning we're going to dissect that and let persons understand the importance of signs, why signs are placed, so the difference between certain signs and persons who violate signs and so forth, what can happen to them.
Okay.
And also the importance of having signs along our nation's road. And just by way of a simple definition for what a road traffic sign is a sign usually on the side of the road or on the streets, highway, bearing symbols or words of warning or direction to motorists or pedestrians, and often having characteristic shape. Some have different shapes and so forth, giving you different instructions.
Okay.
Yes.
Now tell me, what are some of the, I still will go back to my question as what I asked, what are some of the critical signs that pedestrians and drivers alike should look forward to and adhere to?
Yes, so more so for I'll start with pedestrians, letting you know that one of the most important signs is a stop sign.
A stop sign.
A stop sign. Telling you that you need to stop.
And that is in reference to drivers and pedestrians?
Well, some as pedestrians,
I would say more
yes,
pedestrians.
Because remember, pedestrians do have to cross the street at times. Yes. And we get signals from even traffic lights as well. So then, and we know red means to stop. Right. But we have other signs such as no parking, no entry, pedestrian zone ahead. There's a lot of signs that you see along the roadway. And
a critical marking on the road that we will see, and I sometimes wonder a wee bit if folks know how to use it. From time to time, there is that footage that we show on TV that indicates the pedestrian cross.
Yes.
And sometimes, being a driver myself, I may understand it, but I think it's still a problem a lot in Grenada, I would say, when it comes to pedestrians knowing how to use a pedestrian cross.
That's true.
You understand? We see from time to time pedestrians, you as a driver may be approaching a pedestrian cross. You may know, well, it's a pedestrian cross, so I have to slow down.
Very well.
I have to slow down. Give the pedestrian the go to go ahead. And once they notice that you're slowing down, it's an indication that they should proceed to cross. And from time to time, we see pedestrians taking their good time. Like, if, well, you ought to wait on me, kind of attitude, and crossing the pedestrians. Tell us how, from the police, for the traffic department, upon how about that.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because that persons have been asking in relation to, and you hear it a lot in terms of persons misusing pedestrian crossing, both from the pedestrian and driver's point of view. What needs to happen when one is approaching, I'll start with drivers, approaching a pedestrian crossing, because it tells you in the highway code, when you're going for your exam, you study all these things, and even while you're doing your practical exam, driving exam, that once you approach a pedestrian crossing, you slow down, you give the necessary signal, and you stop. Even if there is no pedestrian, you still slow down in the event that someone intend to cross before you reach the pedestrian crossing.
Okay.
So then you lower your speed. However, if pedestrian is there, you stop. Do you have what we call a stop line? You stop before that and you allow pedestrian to cross. However, if the driver already passed the stop line, the pedestrian should allow the driver to continue on his journey.
So let's get a bit of explanation for this. A driver approaching, there's always that first line.
Yes, what we call a stop line.
That's a stop line.
Yes.
So you're saying now, if a driver happens to pass that stop line, a pedestrian should remain and allow him to continue.
The driver,
the vehicle to continue.
Yes, because the driver already passed that, indicating that because you were not there at the time, or you maybe were not there at the time before him crossing a stop line. So then, therefore, you have to wait.
Okay.
Because remember, there is significant importance for you stopping. because a driver may not see you, they may have brake mechanical failure, etc., etc. Let's not take that risk and protect ourselves. However, because by way of continuation, the pedestrian is in the pedestrian zone, the driver has to stop.
Okay. So once a driver notices pedestrians are on the pedestrian cross,
he should stop.
He should stop.
Yes,
right.
Before the stop line. Stopping after the stop line may put a pedestrian in fear that the driver may not stop or so on. But that is why when we come to how a pedestrian should use a pedestrian crossing, that once you enter a pedestrian crossing zone, you stop. The first thing you do is stop. And you stop because of the same reason I explained, that make sure that no vehicle is coming, our vehicle is not already in the pedestrian zone.
All right. But so is there also a process where a pedestrian should be given an indication to the approaching vehicle that he wants to cross?
Yes, because sometimes persons loiter in the area for pedestrian crossing. So you lift your hand, giving an indication to the driver that you intend to cross, and you also make eye contact
with the driver. So.
Yes. But then you don't cross yet. You make sure that vehicle come to a complete stop before the stop line. And once the vehicle come to a complete stop, you cross from one side to the other side.
All right.
Continue along your journey.
So we hope the listeners and viewers do understand that now, and they don't get mixed up with it from time, because I do see the process of that happening from time to time.
We have once we do that, we'll see a reduction in the number of pedestrian accidents, or the likelihood of someone being struck by a vehicle in the area of a pedestrian crossing.
All right. Now, another critical sign that we want to get, and pretty soon it is going to be implemented again here in Grenada, is the stoplights. The traffic lights. Sorry, yes. Traffic lights. My apologies for that. What are some of the rules and regulations in terms of the stoplights that pedestrians should follow? Maybe a bit of a reminder for them, because there are three colors: the green, the amber, and the red.
Yes, and there's some traffic sign you also have additional 2 lights for pedestrian. One shows red, one shows green.
Okay.
So it coincides with the red, amber, and red, green, yellow, as we say.
Okay.
So once the one for the driver is on red, the pedestrian one goes on green. So it allows pedestrian to cross.
So this now alerts the driver. It's green, which means a driver knows he has to go ahead. And now when the red, that indicates usually the red or the amber for the pedestrian
to tell him that he needs to slow down. The light is about to go on red.
We do have some footage on TV that is maybe giving a bit of indication to it, just in case. But that's in terms of the stop signs and so forth that pedestrians could adhere to. You understand? Because signs are important for the everyday commuting of pedestrians who are using the roadway and drivers alike.
Yes, yeah. Because science gives, firstly, it gives information, general information. No matter what it is, it gives you an information. Sometimes that information can be interpreted in terms of a prohibition, that you should not go there, you should not. It tells you there's a warning, danger ahead, police notice, no through road, no entry, whatever it is. Some gives warning, some gives information. Signs tell you that way to Grenville is 5 miles away. And that is what science help us. It gives us information in the first. And as I said, some are warning the fact that you should not enter, and some should be mandatory.
Right. How important it is for road users in general to pay attention to signs?
It is very, very important, because it's, as I said, it gives warning, it gives information. So if you do not pay attention and a hazard is ahead of you, you would not know that, because you fail to maybe read the sign. Firstly, because as drivers, you must but you should read signs along your route. Do not get distracted by it, but at the end of the day, signs are placed in an area that once you're driving within the speed limit as well, you would be able to observe the signs while you're on you. And most of the signs are there. If you're frequently traversing a particular area, you would automatically know that a particular sign is in a particular area.
How important it is also for pedestrians, road users in general, to make themselves aware of what road signs really means?
As I stated earlier, it's very, very important, because you miss a sign based on negligence or ignorance, it can cost you injuries or your life, or put yourself or other persons in danger. Because one of the importance of signs is it helps manage or regulate the flow of traffic. Certain signs. Also, signs, as I said, warn drivers about obstacles and what is ahead of them.
All right.
It also helps you direct you to where you are going, like directional signs. And also you have, it also, the main point here, it helps reduce accidents and injuries, because a lot of signs that persons fail to obey may just cause you to end up in an accident because you fail to stop, because you fail to give way at a roundabout.
All right.
And that happens, and then a collision occur, injuries, or even road fatality.
All right. We drew for a break, Corporal Paul. Let's take it, and we'll certainly come right back. Hey, folks, it's To The Point here on Classic Radio, GBN TV. We're coming right back after the break. Stay with us.
On Saturday, July 29, Montrouge Plainfield will be transformed into a sea of grills as food, fun, and friends collide. It's the 10th annual Maggie King of the Grill competition. The best chef and barbecue kings and queens compete for cash, a new grill, and the title of Maggie King of the Grill. Come savor the flavors. Try to bust the ice cold bar and let the kids have their way in the bouncing castles, pony rides, slides, and games. Try your hand at dominoes or the beer and leg competition and win instant cash. Come 7 p.m. you go stateside to enjoy performances from top local acts. It's a whole evening of fun at the Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, July 29 at the Montrouge Plainfield. Gates open from 12 noon. $10 gets you on the inside. Powered by Maggie, Hot 98, and GBN Television.
It is important to know what your road signs and markings means. The zigzag lines means you should not park in the marked area. Parking is allowed inside the solid white lines on the edge of the road. Remember, look out for pedestrians. Pedestrians, be sure the vehicle comes to a complete stop before crossing. These tips can save your life. These tips can make our roads safer for all users. Be safe, be seen, be smart. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 15th day of June. This morning, we have with me this morning Corporal Troy Paul from the Traffic Department. We will be entertaining your calls. I'm seeing a couple of folks already calling in, but we will be entertaining your calls shortly. Now, our next direction in terms of the conversation this morning we would like to have is pertaining to the penalties and violation for signs and signals. And I'm assuming when I say penalties, Corporal, tell me, what kind of penalties can an individual run into or get themselves in trouble for, in terms of speaking in layman terms, if they violate, let's say, a particular sign or signal given to them? When we say signals, or may come from the traffic lights. There are individuals who may violate that.
Yes.
When we say signs, there may be signs that are erected certain way that says, there's a detour or no parking or whatever. When we terms of signs, what are some of the penalties for violating signs and signals? If you could share that information with us.
Yes. So I must state that it is very, very, very important to obey traffic signs. And once you violate traffic signs, especially place those that gives warning, or those that, I should say, mandatory signs that you should obey once police give instructions.
Okay.
There can be penalties for those. Under Section 80 of the Road Traffic Act, it says penalty for violating certain section which relates to when a sign is being erected. It says any persons who unlawfully places, because I'm just speaking in general here.
Go ahead.
Places, erect, marks, or retain or cause to be placed, erected, marked, or returned any traffic sign near a road remove, deface, damage, alters, or obscure in any way or interferes with any traffic sign lawfully placed, erected, marked, or retained on or near any road, being the driver of a vehicle, fails to comply with a traffic sign placed or erected or otherwise marked on or near a road by the licensing authority, commits an offense. And I'll go back to see. You being the driver of a vehicle fails to comply with a traffic sign placed, erected, or otherwise marked on or near any road by the licensing authority, commits an offense and shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine of $500 or to imprisonment for 3 months or both such fine or imprisonment.
So when we say signs, they fail to comply. So there's a stop sign that says, there's a road sign, and the signs on the road that says stop.
Yes.
You as a driver fail to stop, you proceed.
Yes, you can be
that's a violation.
You can be charged
for doing that.
Yes.
There's a sign that says, there's a detour, do not go that direction. You fail to comply.
Yes, you fail
could
to
run yourself
comply.
into problems.
Yes.
With that also.
Under Section 83. No entry, you can be charged. You breach that now because it's telling you that you shouldn't. Why should you? So if the authority is telling you do not, because you don't know what beyond the sign.
Exactly.
Because it could be for your own safety and so forth. But you still, to me, I see it as a level of disrespect if the authorities erect a sign and you breach that sign. Right. But however, we have penalties for that.
All right.
You caught, you can be ticketed for that, and the maximum, as I said, is
I think you said 500.
500 to imprisonment for 3 months or both.
All right. No, when it comes to especially traffic lights and so forth, individuals who decide, well, there's no traffic, come in the direction where I'm going for whatever reason, so I think, and the lights have stopped, but I'm seeing there's no traffic, so maybe I should just proceed. That is also a violation.
Yes, it is, because even if there is not a police officer there, you should obey and comply with the instructions, directions, or whatever the sign is telling you that you should not do, or you should do. Because a lot of persons take it for granted. Because they might say, well, I live in just up the road, so I took the chance. Or I didn't see a police officer, so I took the chance. These are not reasons to break or to violate a traffic sign.
Right.
If you see a traffic sign and you're not sure whether or not you should go, maybe contact the traffic department or the nearest police station and inquire why that sign is placed there, and where do you want to go, and if you can continue along your journey.
Yeah, let's say for instance, there's where you live, and for some reason there's a sign being put up saying that no entry.
Yes.
And that particular where the no entry sign is placed, it leads to where you live. You should contact the police and ask if you could get permission. Inquire if it's okay for you to proceed. It could be for various reasons why the no entry sign is put there.
Very well.
Maybe it was put there while you were in a home or for whatever reason, and now you see that you should at least get permission to know that if you can proceed beyond that.
Very well.
All right. So that's interesting, and I certainly hope our viewers and listeners out there are paying attention to the conversation this morning in terms of knowing the do's and don'ts when it comes to signs and signals. Now, that's another bit of a touchy subject there in terms of the penalty and violation for signals. How does that come into play?
If you're talking signal, we're talking traffic lights. And persons breaching or violating traffic lights signals, this is very, very, very dangerous. Because remember, the signal goes depending on if you're at an intersection, signal goes different ways. So while mine is on red, yours will be on green.
Yes.
But however, if yours on red and you continue, mine will still be on green. So the likelihood here of a collision occurring is very, very very, very likely. And we know the outcome maybe at an intersection, because if I have the right of way, I will proceed, and I'm not expecting you to breach your traffic light. Okay. So you're looking for the dangers, but however, once someone is caught breaking the traffic light, you can be ticketed for the offense, and the ticket is $500.
All right.
And maximum 5,000.
All right.
Yeah, and you can
And that's basically for just breaching a traffic signal, traffic signal or a signal.
So it's not easy to pay a ticket of $500 for just running a red light or so.
That's interesting. That's interesting. We do further the break. We coming back and more this morning, and we also will be entertaining your calls from listeners and viewers this morning. If you do have a question or two you'd like to ask our constable this morning, feel free to do that. We're coming right back after the break.
Records at the traffic department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming. When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle? To avoid accidents, drivers and pedestrians alike must exercise extreme caution when using the road.
You know, one day I woke up and they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. Nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought.
Welcome back once again to our viewers and listeners to the point for today, June the 15th. With me this morning, we have Corporal Troy Paul with me this morning. Corporal Paul, especially when it comes to youngsters, it is also very important, maybe you can show some advice to parents out there, especially in terms of teaching their sons and daughters between the use and what the signs actually means. How important that is?
It is very important that drivers and pedestrians, as I said, know what our signs means. You may see signs along the roadway. If you don't understand it, you research it, you call the traffic department and you inquire about it, because they're there for a particular reason. But in order to obey them, you must first know what they mean, what signal, what warning, what direction it is. So we must first know, as drivers and pedestrians, know what these signs means, and we must also obey them.
For indication, there's a sign on the screen right now. What would that indicate, or in those indications or those signs? Well, it's kind of moving a bit quick this month.
We're seeing stop sign, we're seeing pedestrian. This one means the pedestrian zone.
Mm-hmm.
So then you expect pedestrians to be using the road. Also pedestrian as well.
Yes.
So in that area you expect pedestrian, school children, some school zone, some will mark under them school zone, pedestrian zone. But once you see signs like those with pedestrians on it, we're telling you that pedestrians will be using the road network, so you need to slow down as drivers.
So drivers more should adhere to signs of that nature?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. When you see a sign that says yield, what does that mean?
So you need to slow down. So most time you'll see yield in areas of roundabout. So you need to give way to traffic to your right.
Okay.
So once you approach the roundabout, you slow down and you stop, and you make sure that traffic to your right proceed. And then after that is done, yours clear, you can proceed once there is no traffic.
Okay. One way, what does that indicate to individuals, especially drivers and so forth?
That that direction of road is going in one particular direction, and it should not traverse the other direction.
Okay, great.
Yes, as simple as it is.
Okay. All right, that's understandable. And well, it goes both. It goes one way. You could be going one direction, one way in the next direction. All right.
Yeah, but then what it's telling you that you should not be going the opposite.
The opposite
if this is because we have a lot
I guess
of one-way
the arrow
streets.
window indicates the direction that you should go.
Yes, we have a lot of one-way streets, and such as like H.A. Blaze, Scott Streets, and so forth. Because if your traffic is flowing in one particular direction, you don't expect traffic to come in the other direction. So then, once it says that one way, it should be complied with, and one way is one way.
All right. Let's entertain a few calls, because we still have another topic that we want to discuss a wee bit this morning, but the phone's been going, so let's see if we can entertain this with the caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Telesford. Greetings and greetings to your guests. Very interesting conversation, I must indeed say. But I wonder, because my experiences in Thomas and George really doesn't coincide with the things that I hear the young gentleman speaking there about. Signs and signals and otherwise, and even logical things. My encounters with vehicles on the middle of sidewalks. How are we looking at that, officer? People, the zigzag lines on both sides as an international norm of pedestrian pedestrian crossings. People park on them. I collide on vehicles upon vehicles on the streets of St. George's, where no parking is written. Huge letters on the ground. How we look at that? You fellas are failing in the enforcement of the laws, and you have to look at that seriously. But I end by asking this question. I know, and I'm very much happy to know that is happening. We get in some street lights and all that, advancing and so on into the future. Great. My question is, what provisions have been made or are being made for visually impaired people as it relates to these pedestrian crossings and their placing? Because you speak of signaling. Signaling doesn't only have to be in this modern time for sighted people. Songs come in, and that's how we get our information. I traverse the tongue of St. George with sufficient difficulty already. How would I know when my time comes and these lights begin? The final thing, sir, I'd like you to take to your command. Protocols seemingly do not exist as it relates to the wardens and their dealing with the visually impaired. A couple of days ago, I was about to cross the road on Canash Hill. I didn't even know there was a police officer there. After I made my maneuvers and saw my whistle, I was called out and so on. And then my idea is that upon seeing people like that reaching, a place should be established for the visually impaired to go. Then the warden stroke police officer will conduct the necessary procedure to cross them or whatever they like to do to set them on their way again. We need to establish protocols for the visually impaired in the tongue of St. George, and wherever, as a matter of fact, in this here country. I trust that my message is clear. Do have a nice day, will you?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your contribution this morning, as always. And very informative information from the caller. And,
yes, his message was loud and clear, and it was received. And the information, those that he requested that we take to the authority will definitely be brought to them so that we can look into the issue of making it more friendly for visually impaired persons and even persons with disabilities who use our road network. Is not is things that we have to look at holistically as we go forward into a technological advanced era where the things that we used to do in the past, we cannot do it no more because there are international laws and so forth that we have to make provisions for these people to make accessibility and mobility a lot better. Right. I agree with him, the caller, in relation to enforcement in terms of a lot of the vehicles, but we as law enforcement, sometimes we have to take as we say, the blows or the licking when it's necessary, and definitely improve on our service to the community and to the public and do what we're paid for. So definitely that we have to do what we have to do in relation to enforcement, and we'll continue to enforce and increase in terms of service deliverance in terms of enforcement.
All right. I'm seeing a question here from someone via the Facebook page. Maybe you could differentiate for the individual. They want to know what's the difference between a no entry and a no through road.
A no entry and a no through road, yes. A lot of persons have trouble interpreting these two signs. No entry simply means no entry. That you shouldn't go further.
You couldn't go beyond that.
But sometimes a lot of people see a no through road and think it means no entry as well. No through road tells you that you can proceed, but you can only proceed up to a point. Okay. And followed by a no through road would be a no entry.
All right.
Because we wouldn't tell you no through, and then at some point will tell you that you cannot go. But however, as I said, there may be persons living in a particular area or for another diversion. So we tell what the no through road is telling you that you can proceed, but you can only proceed up to
a certain point. And after that point, there may be
a no entry. So then you prepare you for that no entry sign.
All right, understandable. Certainly hope the person who posted that question may have, so they got the answer to that now.
I hope that is clear.
I hope it's clear.
Yes.
Let's go to the caller. Caller, good morning. Sorry for having you holding. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. GT.
Good morning, sir.
And the police officer, Corporal Paul is his name? It's Corporal Paul?
It's right. Constable Paul.
Corporal.
Right. I just want to ask two questions, please, in regards to around the boat. Because noticeably by the Sugar Mill area and up Woodlands, if they put a tire as a roundabout with no indication that it is gazetted as a roundabout, and an accident were to occur, and that marking where a tire is in place or somebody put something and vehicles using it as a roundabout, but it is not gazetted as a roundabout, and an accident occur, can the individual be charged for violating any aspect of the traffic law? And secondly, I want to also ask, if someone is at the age of 17, are they allowed to do the theory aspect of the driving examination? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution with this one. Any part of the question you want to answer?
Yes,
Corporal?
Not to go deep into, but most of our traffic signs, as the driver, the caller stated, we should be gazetted once certain signs are erected, and not just gazetted, but also in at least 2 local newspapers, so that persons will be aware, and the information can be shared, disseminated, and so on, so that persons can identify and know where those signs are. Once that is not done, then in certain instances you cannot take action. Okay. But however, most of the times these signs and so these things are gazetted, because if you look in the Road Traffic Act, it will tell you a lot of these places that, for example, no parking, no entry, deemed to be no entry, and they publish those in gazettes and so forth.
All right.
So then, what as a country or a nation, persons, we should follow through with gazettes and to make sure that these things are newspaper to see, because if we don't read these articles, we would never know what has been published in the Gazette and where does it apply.
Because sometimes we see these things go, as a caller alluded to, the roundabout where they put the tires and stuff. Maybe it was gazetted, but maybe you never knew. You never knew that it was gazetted, so you probably think, well, it was just put there for putting their sake. You understand?
Yes.
I understand where he's coming from. Let's entertain another caller, because we do. There's another thing I want a serious conversation I want us to have in terms of the use of bus stops. And let's take this caller. When we come back, we will discuss. After this caller, we'll discuss that.
Yes.
Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, well, morning, and how are you doing?
Not bad, sir. Go right ahead.
All right. Listen, what I noticed, with most of the times, as for example, as he signs up in different areas that we have some things going on. Police notice that they were closed or those different things. And when they finish doing what they're doing, they're not moving all the signs from the compound around the area. Sometimes somebody take it and put it on the side, that somebody else would just take it and put it back in the road and create problems for the people who use the signs as how he said. You have to put brick signs and they're not they didn't do anything wrong, but they're not accustomed with that. And next thing I noticed, they put a sign up where they put no parking in a line of signs, and I see them as no through road. And the road wasn't blocked. Is for example, by Calico Place going up, when you're going up, after past Calico going up, he had some no parking on the side of the road, and he have a no through road at the end of it. So I following sign now that will create problem for me. And with the crossing now, concerning pedestrian crossing, right lower down the police station in St. David's, where people usually stand up in a crowd waiting for transport, you have a pedestrian crossing right across them there. If drivers use it as how it's supposed to be, every time you reach there, you're supposed to you at least stop, and then you see they're not crossing the road, you have to continue going after. They're supposed to put the signs and the crossing and thing in the right place, where you don't usually have a crowd and things.
All right, thank you, caller. Thank you so much. I was looking at Constable Paul, any response to the caller, or are you just going to forward?
I just want to thank him for the information in terms of we spoke about sign and so forth. But however, just to touch a little on, persons should not loiter in the area of pedestrian crossing for one of the reasons that the caller alluded to, because you stop, you slow down, and no one is intending to cross. But however, pedestrian crossings are placed as a safe place for persons to walk. So that's why it is erected in certain areas and so forth. So let us obey them both as drivers and pedestrians. So continue to slow down or stop if you have to for your safety in terms of avoiding a collision, and for pedestrians and so forth. Let's not loiter in the area of pedestrian crossing.
A concern that I always seem to have also, and I show the other road users, drivers, pedestrians, like cones in the roads. What do they indicate, and what is the meaning of
cones along the road? Yes, most of the times cones help or reinforce some of what we call no parking signs, because at times you may have no parking signs and they may be limited. So then you may have cones to restrict persons from parking, because we still seeing a lot of a violation in terms, because you place cones, you place no parking, and once persons see a space between two cones, they probably thinking, when I could park between there, or maybe you know no cone there and my vehicle good enough, I could park there.
All right.
That is sometimes how.
So the cone is actually is like actually like a no, that's no parking.
It helps reinforce no parking signs.
Okay, great. Now, before we continue with more of the phone calls, I want us to have a little bit of discussion on the use of a bus stop. They highlight the use of bus stops.
Yes.
That is seemingly becoming a problem, where especially when we come to in the commuters who wants to use a bus stop, think that or want bus to stop for them. You understand? Would stop anywhere. Or stand anywhere. Let me correct myself. Stand anywhere and feel a bus should stop for them there, or wants to or someone who's using a bus thinks they could stop the bus each and anywhere. Give us some information about the use of bus stops and the proper use of individual in terms of having to use the correct way of stopping when it comes to.
So most of it, within a town, you will see signs that will tell you that there's a bus stop in a particular area, and they're placed there for a particular reason. And the main purpose of a bus stop is to take on or set down passengers. It is a designated area for buses to take on and set down passengers. So you should not sit down anywhere outside of a bus stop, especially in the town, in our towns. Also, drivers not using the bus stops and taking on persons where there is no designated bus stop. It is an offense under Section 77(4), taking on or setting down passengers. And you can be charged ticket one, $150, $1,005 if the maximum, or 12 months imprisonment for just, as person might say, just taking on or setting on passenger where there is no bus stop, because bus stops are provided.
Are we going to see some serious enforcement with that soon?
There is serious enforcement in that. That is one of the most common, one of the common offenses what we see happening. However, even though the bus drivers are charged, they will still continue, as they will say that some of them, when you meet them, they say that's how they make their daily bread. So they will do it whether or not
they take it or not.
Yes, so they will take the chance, as you say, especially the Grand Dance or the Senevitz buses. Is there
a issue where they could come in where that particular individual who stops a bus, not on a bus stop, could run themselves into a problem? The pedestrian per se. Let's say that individual stops a bus anywhere, not being on the bus stop. Could they run themselves into a problem?
No, not at
So that's only if the bus pick them up.
Yes, so the onus is on the bus drivers that you should not stop to take them off if there is no bus stop. Maybe going forward in the future, we'll look at it so that maybe it could be as a deterrent for both driver and passengers, that if I know as a pedestrian I can be charged if I take the bus where there is no bus stop.
Yeah, I feel like I could stand anywhere and the bus should just stop and pick me up.
But in terms of the bus drivers, in terms of the penalties and so on, they still be ticketed, but yet still they will still take on the passengers. So I guess maybe some other method we have to look back into and to see, because what we want is reduction or deterrence from persons breaking or violating traffic offences. However, just to move on in terms of bus stop, there's an offence which under Section 84 we have parking on a bus stop. It says any person who parks any vehicle on a road so that any part of the vehicle or any load carried thereon is within any bus stop as designated under Section 77 commits an offence and shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine of $500 or to imprisonment of 1 month or both such fine or imprisonment. He said for the purpose of this section, parking, and the important point here to look at is parking. He said includes causing or permitting a vehicle, whether occupied or not, to stand on a road. And
and that relates to where there's a designated bus stop.
Because a lot of times you see even regular vehicle, you go on the bus stop and you just park your vehicle there. It is an offense. And also bus driver might say, well, I have a bus. Why am I being charged for parking on a bus stop? And that's the designated area. Tell me that I should sit down. But however, as I said, it is for taking on, sitting down, and you carry on your journey. Not for waiting, not to be waiting for passengers or to go in a shop to buy something to eat for lunch or so forth or so forth. As I said, you go on the bus stop because you take on, you sit down if you have to, and you continue along your journey.
All right. Let's take a caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome. I guess we lost that. That caller was a little bit impatient there. We still have a few more minutes left on today's show. It's just 5 minutes or so left. 435-2041. 435-2041. We'll still have some time. Let me see if I could grab any question or two via the Facebook page. Let's take this caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome. Caller, good morning. I guess the caller is actually not ready for me there yet. Corporal, let's make, of course, a bit of a wrap up in terms of today's program, because I've been trying to give these callers a chance, but it seems like they're distracted some way or the other. We talked a lot this morning. Our final conversation was on the use of bus stop. We talked about signs. Yes. We spoke a bit at length about that. Certainly hope the listening and viewing public, did pick up on that. And we spoke a lot about, in terms of traffic signs, a whole lot about that, and signals also. Anything further you want to mention before we take a wrap this morning?
Yes, as we stated earlier on the program, the importance of sign and why they're placed, and especially if they're placed by law enforcement, and person should comply, because violating traffic signs is very risky. both for your safety and other person's safety, and there's penalties. And we want persons to adhere, but as I stated earlier, persons must know what traffic signs and signals mean, what these signs mean. So then once you know what it is, you will not be ignorant to it, and you will be able to obey them. And we want persons to also obey those traffic signs, signals, and symbols, whatever it is. Because as I stated, there's penalties, and we talk a little about penalty in terms of persons failing to comply can be charged up from $500 or to imprisonment of 3 months or both such fine and confined. But most importantly, traffic signs, as we stated, helps reduce. Once person comply, it helps reduce accidents and injuries. It also helps manage the flow of traffic. It directs you to where you are going, and it helps warn or give drivers directions. So we want persons to, when you see traffic sign, comply with them. However, as we stated, if you do not understand a traffic sign, you can call the traffic department, or if you see a sign erected in a particular area, and especially like no through road and so forth, and there's no police officer there, still call us, let us know your intention, and we tell you whether or not it is safe to proceed and so on. So you should not violate those signs unless you will get authority or instructions otherwise.
All right. Anything further, especially when it comes to road users, trucks, and so forth? Anything final before we wrap this morning? Still have another minute or so to wrap.
Send that, because we're seeing a lot of spillage happening along Louters Lane, Maras Hill, and other areas, and it is happening from a lot of the truck drivers and vehicles, pickups and so forth, where they're failing to cover their load, whether it be gravel, sand, and aggregates and so forth. I just want to implore on these persons that if you're carrying load, do not overload your trays, and that you should cover your trays and so that we can avoid spillage along the nation's road, which is causing a hazard to road users, drivers, and pedestrians as well. Is
there any penalties or violation for that in the law stated?
Yes, there is penalty, but I do not know them offhand. But spillage or failing to cover gravel or sand or aggregates, it is an offense, and you can be charged on I do not have the relevant section, but I can provide that information on the next program, and I can be ready for that. And so that persons need to cover their load to avoid spillage, so that we can have a safer road, because it's very, very dangerous, especially Maras Hill around that corner area on the concrete surface. All right.
Corporal Troy Paul, I want to thank you once again. Always interesting conversation when you do pop by from the traffic department. Always interesting conversation, and certainly when we do have another, of course, opportunity to speak more, we certainly will do so. I want to thank you once again. Have yourself a great day.
Thank you as well, and thanks for having the Royal Grenada Police Force by extension the traffic department, so that we can disseminate those information.
Always a pleasure. Hey, listeners and viewers, thank you once again for being part of today's program. Whether you called, you sat at home, you viewed, you listened, you understand what we were talking about, and you're going to put it into practice, the proper use of signs and signals. I want to thank you once again. Those of you who are viewing via our social media platform, thank you so much for your contribution as always. That's why I say goodbye for today's edition of To The Point. Have yourself a great day, folks. Goodbye.